Hey guys, Ben Osterveld here with the Business from Within podcast. Okay, this is the Business from Within podcast. We got Phil Randazzo, or how do you say your last name? Is it Randazzo?
Perfect. Yep, Randazzo.
Awesome. I met Phil in Monterey, California, and got thrown into an event where I was speaking. And that's my first time I got introduced to Phil. He runs American Dream U, helping veterans transition back into the real world versus the military world. So just real quick, for people that don't know this, long snapshot, short snapshot, give me a sense of what American Dream U is. That's what you do, right?
Correct. Yeah. So long story short, first, thanks, Ben. This is great because you and I awesome. Know each other. Yeah, it's each other, and and you did get thrown into totally. More than just a speaking event. Everything from a mini boot camp to
that's right.
to learning how to dance from a command sergeant.
That was
major,
a lot of fun, man.
Which was great. So basically, I bring world class entrepreneurs like yourself. We've been blessed to have just an amazing list of people. Everyone from Tim Ferriss to Aubrey Marcus to Greg McEwen. I mean, Philip McKernan and all these amazing speakers. And we just have them share with those that are in the process of transitioning from military life to civilian life. And for some, there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's uncertainty with every transition. I would think you would agree with that. And,
oh yeah, totally.
And it can be scary. And so these guys, these men and women in the military, as you got to meet them and know them, they have tremendous confidence when it comes to training to go to war, preparing to defend our country, and I work with a lot of people in the Canadian Army too. So it's just, I've been blessed to be able to do this for over 15 years. It's a nonprofit. I don't make any money. I don't take a salary from it. I funded the organization personally for 13 years, and it's been an incredible run and an amazing journey. And the side part of this, which I didn't even realize when I started, was I get to meet really interesting, great people.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool.
Yeah. And some people who are basically full of shit, meaning they claim they're this great entrepreneur, baller, hey, come, the guys on YouTube, hey, come and see my house, right? Have you seen those advertisements?
People are breaking into airports to go stand beside a private jet to take a little picture. I think you just can't, what kind of person gets fooled by that is a thought to mine. I'm not getting fooled by that. I think a fool gets fooled by that. But I guess you put the front on. So you're running into that here and there.
Oh, all the time. And again, I would never call anybody out
for sure
by name, but people know, right? It's, so I bring people to military bases, right? Yeah. You got your own way to Monterey. If there's someone who says, hey, listen, pick up my travel, and I know they're just going to deliver a ton of value, and they just want me to probably have some skin in the game, no problem. I'll throw them on a plane. But when someone tells me they just had a 7-figure launch or an 8-figure launch, and they're doing all this stuff, I'm like, great, just make your way to Raleigh.
Especially it's nonprofit, right? It's not like you're
100% nonprofit.
Yeah, so that's the thing, yeah.
We're not selling anything from stage. There's no back end. There's nothing. It's crazy. Military would not allow me to do these events. I've done events at the Pentagon. They're not going to allow me to be selling at the back of the stage.
What's your upsell? You got a squeeze page? Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these speakers, we have a waiting list of hundreds, tell me how great they are and how, what great business they have. And I'm like, great, make your way to Raleigh. We'll get you to Fort Bragg. They're like, oh, you don't cover travel. I'm like, well, looks like the flight's around $240 from where you are to Raleigh is. And they're like, it's just a little tough right now. And, I owe some taxes, my court, and it's this. And I'm like, dude, you just took 20 minutes on how you just did an 8-figure launch and you don't have $212 to get yourself to Raleigh.
Well, the truth is,
yeah. And so, and again, and I spend days with these speakers, right? You and I spent a couple of days. I get to know them.
Yeah.
Most part, they're super generous, awesome people. Listen, and I was the guy years past who always was trying to impress people.
Yeah.
By what I drove, the watch I had. I didn't really dress great, and my face is definitely, I'm not trying to impress anyone with my face. That's not how I roll, but I was like that. I was definitely, and still once in a while that creeps up to me.
I think it is a part of that's quite normal. Like we live in a high pressure place, a lot of judgment, a lot of your stuff comes out, right? I think half the battle is just being aware. Like just being aware, it just goes away. Like I'm not perfect either. I want people to like me. I'd like everyone to like me and be the best, but it just doesn't happen like that. But I know that since I want that, or since I have that in me as well, like to have that impressive thing, it just doesn't even come into power much anymore. It's more of a shadow than anything, but I can relate to you as well, Phil.
Yeah, I agree. So anyways, that's basically, and so I've gotten to learn quite a bit again from people like you, which people are truly happy and which aren't. And so I'm in that search right now, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And we can get into it. You can ask me questions. You can get in. I'll be totally honest. People can judge me. Boy, I was behind the scenes. I was a dick. I was trying to use my influence, my stature, my power to get things that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I never did any. The one thing that I'll compliment myself on, because I don't compliment myself very often. I always did the right thing, right, to a fault. Meaning, if I had an opportunity to make money from somebody, but it wasn't really the right fit, I never sold anything.
That's
or
awesome.
never pushed anything on. So that I'll pat myself on the back for. But there are other things that I did, and I can blame my parents and all that kind of stuff. But I'm tired of blaming other people. It's all on me. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think here. Thanks for sharing. Like, I'm excited here. Like, now we're going to get to some real stuff. That's why I started this podcast, because I'm considering right now dropping the word business, to be honest, because 80% of what I do when I work with people and talk to people, and the real transformation is 80% psychology and 20% a great strategy. And it's like, so business is the strategy. Business is the business planning and the tactics, which I love and I'm really good at. But the thing is, if you want to see like lasting change and real transformation where your whole world shifts, even doubling your income can come through a psychological breakthrough where maybe you're not as scared anymore, or maybe you're whatever. So I just feel like I might even drop the business and just call it from within, because that's really what it's about. And it's kind of cool that you kind of starting right there, right out of the gate, talking about the inner side of things. And that's kind of why I wanted to do a podcast, is to get behind the inside story of the people behind the story, the front story. Like everyone would see you on Facebook or whatever. Who is this guy? Like, what's he doing? So I want a little bit of your origin story, if you don't mind, Phil, and then I'm sure we're going to have some awesome philosophy. I have a feeling we'll get some really great conversation here. So tell me this, you live in Vegas. So, and you're also, which is probably the real reason I actually have you on the show, is you're a Vegas Knights season ticket holder for the NHL.
Yep, a proud season ticket holder. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm the big NHL fan. Good Canadian boy. Have you ever played hockey?
I did. I played 2 years in Chicago, and the very first time I put on all the gear, right, I needed a chair to skate with. Have you ever seen this? I just remember
with your equipment.
With my equipment, I'm holding on to a chair and I'm skating. Right. And so I didn't have to do that too much. But, ice time in Chicago was like brutal. Right. So I would have to wake up like at 4 a.m. or practice like 11 at night.
Yeah.
And my poor parents, and my dad was this, he's Sicilian, right? He was born in Sicily, this tough, old Sicilian guy.
Very cool.
And so what he did when I played hockey was he would pay me 50 cents every time I checked somebody.
Jeez,
and like $1.
Right, hardcore Canadian style. Okay, I see.
I mean, literally, I think I was like 9,
He's
10
like,
years old.
You're going to be the toughest son of a bitch out there. I don't care.
Yeah, just aggressive. Yeah. And so I lasted 2 seasons. I was actually a decent athlete growing up, but hockey was definitely not I ended up playing college sports. Hockey was definitely not. But I grew up in Chicago, so I was a Blackhawks fan. I always had a great team to root for, and, one of the original 6
totally.
and all that. And then when Vegas, was bringing a team who was the team's actually owned by a veteran, I was in. So I was part of the founding members of the team, and I got great seats.
I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool. What a cool connection. That's a really cool connection. So a veteran. So who is it then?
So the guy's name is Bill Foley.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he went to West Point. was in the Army and the Air Force, and then, really studied business. I believe he got his master's and all that stuff. And then he bought a company called Fidelity Title, and he made some stupid amount of money, right? Like $1 billion. And now he owns all these wineries, and he opened up the Knights, and it's just a first-class organization. I don't want to get too much into the Knights, but just a first-class organization. And then, when you got a winning team, it goes to Stanley Cup.
Miracle, the very first year. Exactly. Stanley Cup finals. Love it. So I had to touch on this. I think we have a game together in the future, either Edmonton or Vegas. That's in the bag. Whoever gets here first gets there first. We're going to the game, right?
Perfect.
That's good. We can come see Connor McDavid because that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Your dad's from Italy then, right? Is that right?
Yeah, he was born in Sicily.
And did you get born? Were you born in Italy or were you?
I was not.
Okay,
I was not.
You're American.
So I'm American. I was born in Chicago. And so he came over literally, I think he was 10 years old right after World War II. So my grandfather fought in World War II for Mussolini, right? And so he either fought for Mussolini or literally they hung you or shot you in the back of the head. So he fought as soon as the war ended and Sicily was just destroyed. They jumped on a boat and came to New York. Half the family stayed in New York and half went to Chicago. So I was the Chicago group. So my father was, a Sicilian-born, raised. I have a history of, and again, this is not an excuse for my past behavior of anger and all that kind of stuff, but from what I've heard, it goes back generational stuff of anger. So he married my mom, who's an American, right? So she was half Irish, half German. They ended up getting divorced. It was one of those crazy things. And my dad ended up getting custody of my sister and I, which back in the 70s was unheard of for a male to get full custody of kids. And so, later find out, God bless my dad, he died about 7 years ago. He had connections. And so he paid off judges and counselors. And all of a sudden he was awarded, and I think everyone was just shocked. And we didn't know. We were 10 years old. We didn't know what happened. And so it was just a crazy childhood. My dad had some interesting background, but again, I don't want to talk too much about him or. Go ahead.
And I think so much of our past still comes and plays into our future, and into our present. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is what drives you? And I know there's part of that stuff is from there, but. Like what drives you? You've been doing this, the working with veterans and helping them transition for how many years again?
So 5 years with the transition program, but 15 years in total with the nonprofit. The first 10 years were spent in a lot of time helping the wounded, their families. A lot of guys were coming back, Canadians as well, beat up, blown up, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then I've got some day jobs, right? I have to, put food on the table, for my family. So I've got a couple day jobs.
What's a day job?
Yeah. So that's been an interesting challenge for me because so I've got a benefits practice, right? So I do health insurance, 401ks, group health insurance, those type of things. I have a financial planning practice. I have a technology company. I've got some apps that, a little bit of success on that. Own some real estate. I've been into quite a bit of things, but there have been things that I've done for years that I just don't enjoy. And it built up a lot of resentment for me. So I'll give you an example, and maybe this will help your listeners. So long day at work, right? My company was open from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m, 7 days a week. I'd answer my cell phone at night. The phones would get forwarded. It has a small team of maybe a dozen employees. We're making hundreds of decisions every day. Right. Stuff coming at us. I mean, literally, I have a new employee. She's been here a month and she's like, how do you ever get anything done? I mean, everyone's just literally lined up at your door. And this is my fault because this is why I set it up. So we're making all these decisions. And then we get home and your wife or your husband just want to hear about how your day went. Right. So here's a typical day for me. Right. Come home. I'm exhausted. I'm hungry. I forgot to eat. I just drink crap all day, right? Whether it's energy drinks or coffee, maybe had a glass of water. And my wife just wants to hear, she's been home with 3 kids and she's like, how was your day? I'm like, great. It's like, what do you want for dinner? I got chicken, I got steak, I got hamburger. I want to make you something special. What do you want? I'm like, whatever you want to make. I'm just hungry. No. I want to just make you something special. I got this, grass-fed beef. And she's going to this whole thing. I'm like, your call. Right? Just totally your call.
No more decisions.
Right. And then the third time she asked me, I'm like, fucking feed me. I'm hungry. And I would just all of a sudden, for absolutely no reason, just lose it because my brain just is like, I can't process another decision.
Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, she's, hanging out with the kids. She just wants an adult to talk to.
Totally. I get it.
And she'd be like, I just wanted to make you something that you wanted,
And
so, right. And if this didn't happen every day, but it happened enough, Ben, that after we've been married 27 years, we just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary. A couple years back, she's like, Phil, you're just a great guy. You're a great husband. You do so much stuff for the community, but it's those small little moments that you just go off that I have no idea why you go off. That's making life unbearable. Right. So I had definitely had a wake up call. I love my wife, right? I mean, we didn't start off, quote, successful. We struggled to kind of make ends meet.
Yeah.
And I just did a lot of reflecting during that time and looking at myself. And if my daughter was married to a guy like me, I'd be pissed. Right. I'd be pissed. And so it took a lot of reflection, and it all stems from, again, I'm not making excuses for my behavior, but doing something day in and day out that I just did not enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, we got a bit of a glitch here.
College, here in the States, you got to pay for school. So I was shelling out $126,000 a year to pay for their school.
Crazy.
And, I'd ask my kids, hey, I just heard if you're left-handed, you can get a scholarship for being left-handed. It's $5,000, go apply. And my kid be like, oh, okay. And they'd go online and they go, Dad, it's going to take me like 10 hours to apply for this. Right. I don't want to spend 10 hours. I'm like, it's $500 an hour. Just do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, no. And then my wife's like, oh, just let them enjoy their summer. And I'm like, so I built up all this resentment. Like I'm working 10, 12, 13 hours a day, 7 days a week, making all these decisions, stressing. And I didn't get any help from my kids. Now, again, I didn't set boundaries and say, okay, kids, here's your limit on your school, where you could go and where I feel comfortable. So I didn't set some of those limits. So again, all these things were all of a sudden, my kids are doing study abroad in Spain and they're doing all this cool stuff. And I'm like, when is it my turn to go abroad? Yeah. And again, it all related back to the fact that I was doing part of my day I just didn't enjoy, and it was a big part of my day.
So many people are doing that, right? Like it's a ways to a means, and it's like hustle for 10 years and then you get what you want. There's big beliefs out there. What do you think about that? Is it true?
You know what? I honestly think it is. And a lot of people that I share kind of my story with, they're all kind of in the same boat, right? And I always ask the question, what if your rich uncle died and left you $25,000 a month? What would you do? And they'd be like, I'd quit. I wouldn't wait till the end of the day. If I got that text message, Uncle Johnny died and left me money, I'd pack up. And so I think people are stuck in things to do, right? They're stuck in jobs they don't like, to buy things they don't really need, and to have this lifestyle they don't need.
Which is, if you dig deeper, then you got to find it. There's way deeper stuff going on. Like, why are you buying those things? Why do you, in some weird way, do you deserve to be successful? Like, so many times, like, that's one of the big things I notice when I'm doing some coaching with people, is that to identify the self-sabotage. Before we can even get into like solving the problem, it's like you have a self-sabotage. Like, as soon as you get really wealthy or you're starting to hit some stride, all of a sudden you change everything, or all of a sudden you start 3 more businesses, or all of a sudden you just, or you get bored, or like you want to tinker too much. And sometimes I just think that's just all self-sabotage, because it's got this weird belief system that just says, no, I can't be wealthy, or you come from a poverty mentality, or so much of that stuff is not talked about in business. I think business school should be talked about the psyche of who you are, so you can unlock and actually get to the success, get to the wealth, and enjoy that happy life. Like, I don't think you just went to work every day just without put yourself through that kind of pressure. Like, dude, I'm talking from exactly the same place where I'm working like a madman, and there's something about a personal value issue where you're sitting there going, well, I'm not like if I was really, really valuable, like if I treated myself at a higher value, I probably wouldn't do that. Do you relate to that at all? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's, again, I'm just speaking for myself and people that I work with as well. Yeah. I think, we hit these, like I pulled out my goals from 1994, right? I want to make $8,000 a month. I want to work from 8:30 to 4:30. I want to pay off my Subaru, right? My awesome. Subaru is like $9,000. And I pulled these out. Awesome. I'm like, like, oh my gosh, this is, I mean, I've blown past that, but at that point in my life, that would have been the end all be all. Those were like my ultimate goals.
It's so crazy, hey?
It's just crazy. And I think when we get a little bit of success and then we see others around us that appear to have a little more success than us, then we just want to get to that point. So it's like, I think Ryan Holiday, who I've gotten to know a little bit, who's just a beast, in one of his books, I think it's Ego is the Enemy. He talks about, we want what we have and we want what others have. Right. And so I would judge people again, I'm going to make myself sound like such a dick, but it's like,
an honest dick. So that's good.
I would meet somebody and I'd be like, I would judge them first off, are they healthy? Do they, right? This kind of stuff, like you meet people, they just don't take care of themselves. Right. Then I would look at their spouse. Do they have a good looking spouse? And I'd be like, oh, well, my spouse, I think is better looking than their spouse. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then I'd go, well, what do I have compared to what they have? And so but sometimes I'd go back and I'd be like, wow, I don't know if my wife is, hopefully she won't listen to this, but it's like, I want what I have. I want my wife and I want his wife and I want his success and I want his income and I want his wealth. And I just saw on Facebook, he was traveling. I want to go to the Greek islands. So it's like, we want what we want. We want what others have is what we want it all. And I think that's the trap that a lot of us get into. I
think, don't you think it's because you just don't know what you want? Like, is it like when you're clear, like then like you do you, I do me, but I'm busy doing my thing. Like if I was like really doing what I want to do and you come to me and says, hey, how about this opportunity? Like I used to chase opportunities. The more clear I get on what I want, I say no more than I say yes. That's for sure. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And again, that was kind of my older mentality, right?
For sure.
It was, I lived in a baller neighborhood, right? We were the smallest house in the neighborhood. Like I had Andre Agassi living 5 houses away from me and the guy that owns this many casinos living here and this guy. And I'd be like, I like saying the neighborhood I lived in. That was part of my identity. That was part of my identity.
We all have that thing.
And so it was again, I wanted what I had and I wanted what everyone else had. And I recently just moved out of that neighborhood after 22 years. And it's just like, man, we downsized quite a bit. I live in a great community and the people are more, and I'm not saying that people with I'm not saying people with a lot of money and success aren't approachable because there's amazing people in that neighborhood, but it seems like I can be more of who I am genuinely and not parading around as who I want others to think I am. Kind of a thing. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You're making a lot of sense. I think everyone is thinking and feeling a lot of that. And there's something people say it. I think I actually am pretty aggressive with personal growth in a way. Like if I get a chance to break free of something that holds me back, I'm the first guy in. I'll tell you a little something. I haven't shared this with anybody, but it reminds me. So I had this Cadillac, right? So I'm in real estate and I've got outward looking pretty successful, and I'm doing speaking and I'm driving. I got a Cadillac, so that kind of fits, right? So you're like, and I love the Cadillac. It was cool. And then it kind of started breaking down a bit. And I'm like, okay, screw it. So I parked it. And my mother-in-law calls me, okay? And she's like, well, Ben, I got a minivan for you. It's $2,500. And it's only got 65,000 K. That's like, what, 35,000 miles. I'm thinking, but it's a 2004 Mint. I'm thinking, that is the worst, best deal I know. And I'm thinking, what would it be like to drive this minivan around? So I went and I thought, I'm getting it anyways. I'm going to get it. My son's 14. In a couple of years, he's got the minivan. That's great. You can't go wrong. 25. You can't, a deal's a deal. I don't care how much money you got. I'm thinking that's a good deal. So I went down, I picked it up. The guy's like 90 years old. Tough negotiator though. Bugger wouldn't give me all 4 winter tires. He wouldn't give me all 4. I said, first he goes 20, what do you say? Go 3,000 with the tires. I said, no, how about 2,500? I'm kind of negotiating too. So I'm at fault. I'm like, why am I negotiating? I'm like 2,500 with the tires. Then he comes back and he says, 2,500, you're getting 2 tires. I'm like, what the F? And it's all through email. He's not talking to me. And anyways, I ended up saying, okay, I'll take it. Like $2,750 I got 2 winter tires. I got to go buy 2 winter tires now. Anyways, so I go down. So know what I've been doing is I've been driving this thing. Like I'm telling you, I'm driving this thing and I'm doing it as like a personal growth exercise. Like I go buy a vehicle, I go get something real nice, but I'm driving a 2004 minivan. It's got low kilometers and I actually enjoy driving it, but every bit of my ego, when I jump in there and I pull up to I'm at a meeting where there's a $2-3 million house, or like there I am with my minivan, and like it is like got no social friggin' what's the word? I don't know, social credit. But you know what? Deep down, I want to be the guy that's not caring what people think on a positive side and not caring what people think on a negative side. And I feel like this is my practice right now, is driving this beautiful van that's showed up in my life, and I'm going to drive it until I don't fucking care. The thing is, though, I kind of really care right now. I'm like, oh shit, I'm driving this thing, and I feel like it's such an idiot. But I'm like, you know what, though? Like, I just don't want to be. I want to be me. Like, it just shows how controlled we are. Like, that feeling of being controlled, like that's a sick feeling. All someone has to do is say, "Nice minivan, buddy," and then I'll go make a big financial decision to buy a real hot car. Like, that's a sick feeling. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you as you're moving out of your baller neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm moving into my minivan, and I just want to drive it until I feel like I don't fucking care. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And you know what? When, the guy who says, "Nice minivan, buddy," right? There's something going on in his world,
totally.
And then again, it's funny. We actually bought a minivan because it just made sense. Right, and all our kids were getting ready to leave for college.
There's just no cool factor. That's all. It's a best. It's like total utility, right?
No. And then my son ended up driving it to school when he turned 16, and I'm like, "You okay with driving a minivan?" And he goes, "I don't care."
Yeah, and then my son too. He's like, "Dad, the utility and that the seats go down." Yeah. I'm pumped to it. Like it's like I'm looking at it going, "But you're not cool." Like it's like, "Dad, you're a loser."
Yeah. That reminds me, you should get it wrapped, right, with your big head on it.
No.
There's a Modern Family.
Terrible.
There's a Modern Family episode where Phil Dunphy wraps his minivan. Have you seen that episode?
No,
you gotta watch it. Anyways, it's hilarious. Just find that one.
I will.
But it's our environment and our surroundings are so interesting that it really directs how we think, what we do, how we act, how we behave.
Yeah.
And, and then we're always searching for the next great book to help us out, or the next great class, or the workshop we can go to. And if I just go to this workshop, and if this person just kind of tells me how I need to behave and act.
I feel like that's such a loop. I call it a loop. You're back around, and you get good stuff. And then you know what I mean? Like it is. I love it. I'm the same way. I've got an audiobook going. I got podcasts going. I'm always learning, and it's almost like you have to mix it with the answer. I think the answer is built in at some weird emotional, spiritual level. Like it's in there. I think if we would look inwards for the answer and trust our gut, trust ourselves a bit more, I think that we would be able to shift a little bit. Like there's people go to 800 of these workshops. Like I don't need 800. Like I think 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but like some guys are just going constantly. But is there really a shift? You know what I mean? So I think the answer's inside us. That's where that trust your intuition comes in. I think people are realizing that's got to be part of the play.
Yeah. So I'll share something else. Again, I'm only sharing this because I've gotten feedback that it's helped others.
Yeah, let's hear it, man.
Kind of do.
So open.
Yeah, and it's it's one of these things where we got this soul in our body, right? And you can call it intuition, you can call it not, and you could probably identify 5 things that your intuition or soul or spider senses says don't do this.
Totally.
But you did it because of whatever reason, and you're like, oh
your
my
brain,
God.
Yeah, every time.
It just doesn't make any sense, right? So I heard this on a podcast, and it was with a guy named Aubrey Marcus and a guy by the name of Paul Chek. I've listened to it a dozen times, and
send me the link.
I will. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And they talk about, so Paul is a very spiritual guy, but he's like in his mid-50s, and he's just like a beast. I mean, he just works out, he eats naturally. You look at him, he's just a beast. And I actually got to meet him a dozen years ago, went to his class. I became actually a holistic lifestyle coach.
Cool.
Just because I was a big fan of what he did. And they talk about, so Paul literally asks his soul questions. and he gets a response, and it's just like a feeling he gets from a response. And you go back to history, we've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, right? I mean, these shamans would go into the Amazon and know which plants they could use for a burn, which plants they could use for a cold. And they would literally speak to the plants. And I'm not getting all woo-woo. Like 10 years ago, I would have made fun of myself for even saying this kind of stuff. I would have called myself a whatever you want to do.
But it plays out in the end, man. People, it's real. Like, you know what I mean? There's all, I don't know what it is, but there's something there. That's why there's woo-woo, but this isn't woo-woo. Yeah, there's some real woo-woo out there, man. This is just like, this isn't that. There's some real funny. Right. There's ones out there that I'm still making fun of that I haven't got used to yet. So
right. You know. And again, it's one of those things where I definitely would have made fun of myself going through these. And I'm a fairly big, tough guy. Yeah. And so, you know, for me to even say that, it's, you know, it's like, am I less masculine? I don't think so. But bottom line is I've been doing this kind of asking questions, right? So the power of the subconscious mind, right? So I broke out books by a guy by the name of Joseph Murphy, Dr. Joseph Murphy, called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. He wrote it like 100 years ago. And he was a pharmacist, and then also grew up in a very religious atmosphere, but he combines science, right, with kind of the subconscious mind. And it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, everyone knows about RAS, reticular activating system. You know, you buy a minivan, and all of a sudden you see all these other dudes in minivans, and it's just kind of telling our brain what to look for.
It's patterns.
But it's like I play out, even for simple things, like this is stupid. So I'm starting to play out how I want to see my future and create my future in my mind as a movie, right? And it's like, it's scary how much is actually like playing through. And you've heard all the great athletes, right? From Michael Phelps, who won, 50 gold medals, right? He would see himself jumping off the board and how many, right? And Michael Jordan played out every game before he ever played out a game. And he was like, hey, 85%, 90% of the time, it finished exactly how I saw it in the locker room before. And so if we could visualize and create our future. And so that's what I'm in the process. Now, I can't speak to how it's working because I'm just started. Yeah. But I'm telling you, it's added a little bit more confidence to what I'm doing. Even
the fact that you take the time for yourself, like even just that action, because we're like, you're type A, I'm type A. Yeah. Is there an A plus? So, but think about that. For a guy that's type A to sit down and take a second and look within, and just to take a moment, I actually think that is also a side effect too, or part of the equation as well. I totally agree with the visualization. I think you can create your life you want. I think that taking that second, that's harder sometimes for me than actually just visualizing. Like I can visualize in the car, I can keep moving, but if you just stop for a second and take that time, I find there's like a moment where you're like, I love you, Ben. There's this moment where like you just take a second for yourself. It's almost like super hard for type A people. So. But yeah, I think about there's probably more to it than just visualization.
No, I think you're right too. And part of my now new routine is, you know, waking up a little earlier, not a whole bunch earlier, but just kind of owning the morning, right? And everyone talks about morning routines, and
it's big,
you know, if you did all the morning routines that all the experts tell you, man, you'd have to wake up like at 1 a.m, you know, just to make sure that you took the hot shower, the cold shower, the breathing, the journaling,
spiritual journaling.
I mean, it's just like insane, but find something that works for you. And so, you know, I'll give you an example. I wake up, I have cold mineral water with some lemons in it, organic lemons, and I squeeze it, and I have this super cold drink first thing out of the gate. Yeah. I wait about 15, 20 minutes, and I bought this little mini trampoline. You ever see these little mini trampolines?
Yeah. Those are ones like 1980s.
Right. Yeah. I'm like doing, you know, the Jane Fonda.
Yeah, Jane Fonda. That's right.
Whatever it is.
My kids love that stuff.
Yeah. So I just kind of move. I get the body moving. Yeah. And then I sit down. I have, I bought like a 5-year journal kind of a thing, right? Okay. On paper. Yeah. I got that advice from a guy named Greg McEwen, who wrote an amazing book called The Essentialism. And I just write it down, right? I just write down some very quick thoughts. And it's hard every day. It's like, oh, I'm grateful for waking up this morning, right? I'm grateful for the day I had yesterday, right? You kind of get in routine. And so I'm trying to now have fun with it. And then, you know, I just do some breathing. So I've been doing kind of the Wim Hof. I don't know if you've ever heard of Wim Hof.
Is that aggressive breathing? I've heard of that.
There's different types of breathing, but you can do some aggressive breathing and breath holding. And man, it's like a high for me.
Oh, really?
Getting all that oxygen in, and I just sit there calmly, and I just kind of picture my day, how I'd like it to end up. And that just kind of starts my day. Every morning I do that little routine that takes about 20 minutes. I just crush the day. The days that I'm like,
forget it.
It's like, oh, do I want to just hang out with my wife in bed for that 20 minutes and have that kind of relaxing morning? Or do I get up and do it? And some days I have great days both ways, but it just sets your day up to do it. And then you're right. Just taking time out, just like a dog, right? Have a dog sit still and just lie down.
There's something that happens to the energy, right? It's energy management.
It just happens. And so again, it's not perfect. And there's a lot of things I'd like to get done. And I'm still constantly distracted. I mean, I'm trying to fight that beast, right? So here's a very quick funny story. So this summer I'm taking a year off. I'm just gonna take a year off.
I saw you looking for places to go. That's right.
Right. I'm like, I've earned it, right? 27 years. I've been super charitable. Yeah. I just want to take some time off. And then all of a sudden, all these amazing opportunities hit me. It's like the universe is going, oh, we're not going to let you take any time off. Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is too good to pass up. This opportunity is too good to pass up. And it's like, I'm getting drawn back in.
So is it a test from the universe, or is it an actual opportunity?
Some of them are opportunities. Like I have this amazing opportunity that I'm like, keep asking myself, what could go wrong? Yeah. What could go wrong? What's the downside? What could go wrong? And all these people are like, Phil, this is not, and it's like more money than I would ever make. Yeah. And so it's like, but then there's this time off thing that I promised myself I would do.
That's really interesting to me, man. Really interesting. Because then there's the sense of you're going to lose the opportunity. And that's the thing that drives me insane a bit, going, well, because what's on the other side of the other side? Like opportunities, we've always chased them. We've always got them, and we'll make shit happen, right? I'm not saying not to take any opportunity. I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting to think, is it better to take the year off and trust that something else will come around? Because how many stories we heard? I've been working with Mr. Philip McKernan, so that's the problem. It challenges the shit out of me in my life. And it's like, do you do what you want? Do you love who you are? Are you doing the right thing? Like it just nonstop, which is amazing. And that's obviously impacting me massively, but it's really interesting. A huge opportunity come. Oh, you can't turn it up. You could. Like it just you could. And that's where I don't have an answer. It's just one of those things going, like, I just think, is there stories out there of people that turn down really big things to do something that's more aligned to who you are? And it's just like, I think about Wayne Dyer. You know Wayne Dyer? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Love Wayne Dyer.
I think I've heard every single thing there is on Wayne Dyer. Yeah. So he helped me transform and help me with my spirituality. And so he got tenure at a college, right? He was writing textbooks. He was 35 years old, and he was writing, they gave him tenure, like it's lifetime income at the college. Right. Lifetime income. And they said, and he walks in and he gave his resignation that day. And he says, you know what, I'm going to quit because I need to move out of the psychology world and go into the spiritual world. The book, the authors, the publishers, everyone says, what are you doing? So he wrote the book, Erroneous Zones, and he literally jumped in his car and he went to every single radio station in the country. And that's how he really got the spiritual thing. And it all tied to his father's forgiveness and some awakening he had and all this. But these are the things I think about that, like there's money opportunities. And I'm going, there's that little voice in your gut that goes, no, it's not fitting. I'm like, shut the F up. And this is big. It's like, no, don't take that. Are you kidding me? Like, so that there, I think, is like intense. Like, how do you figure it out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have me literally rethinking my rethinking, right? Or
oh shoot,
which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. And it's like, I don't know what the exact quote is. It's like something to the point where, we're busy. We're busy, and when you're not busy, the devil will make you busy, right? Yeah. And again, you guys can look up the quote. I'll try to find it, but it's like, commitment. I know where I'm going. I got the company Airstream. Have you ever heard of Airstream trailers?
Yep.
So I got them to donate a trailer for me for 2 months. And I'm going to cruise around and go to military bases and teach and coach. I love to teach and coach. I was a secondary education major in college. All I wanted to do was teach and coach sports.
So you're teaching. So that's interesting to me. Like, this is now getting into some, so that's teaching and coaching. This is something you love to do.
It's what I've loved to do ever since I was a little kid.
And so sports is the key, or would you want to teach or coach somewhere else into another? Like, is there any topics you like? Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've been actually sharing on what you and I are talking about. Right. And just in saying, okay, listen, this is just me, and you don't have to raise your hand and say that you're like this, but I'm getting a lot of people. And again, this is the universe putting people in my life that God wants me to just share my thing. It's like, I'm not coaching them and saying, okay, here's our call and I want you to do this, and I'm going to keep challenging you. It's like, here's how I kind of am breaking through some of the things that made me just such a dick. And again, outward appearances, people would be like, oh my gosh, Phil's super charitable. He's connected. He's super happy. But man, there was definitely a dark side to me. And it didn't come out very often, but when it came out, it was dark, man.
I actually legitimately understand that.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And it got to the point where, again, my wife's like, this isn't worth it. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of other things came into my head, like the fear of being alone and, low self-esteem. And it's like, just, our thoughts just go crazy in that. Let me give your listeners a tool that was like a game changer for me, because you talked about forgiveness. There's an app called Insight Timer. So there's like the two big ones are Insight Timer and Headspace. There's a in-purchase on Insight Timer by a lady named Tara Branch, who wrote a book called Radical Acceptance. And she has a guided meditation for forgiveness on there. It's like $20, the best $20 I ever spent.
That's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah. And I was literally going through these little 10 minutes a day for 10 days. She was speaking directly to me based on this stuff. And most of my forgiveness was forgiveness towards myself.
Oh, yeah.
And I just did things, Ben, that were like evil thoughts beyond evil thoughts. And so I have all this regret of all these things that I thought.
Yeah.
And again, we all had these crazy evil thoughts, but I mean, it was just like dark stuff. And that $20 and that hour of my time was just absolutely incredible. Beautiful. So I highly recommend looking into that, because that was just such a game changer.
I'm actually, on that note, you're hitting the point that I do believe that you kind of have things brought to you. Like there's a helping hand in life in some level. And I do think I think we can unlock something through forgiveness. Like, see, I grew up in a pretty extreme religious experience. So forgiveness was always the answer. So I'm like, whatever. But I think I'm coming around back, I'm not really that religious or anything anymore, but I'm coming around back to this extreme forgiveness thing. And it's almost like you go through your life and you're like, yeah, that guy. Yeah, she's a bitch. Yeah, no, yeah. And you kind of go, wow. And I just think of it as energy balls living in me. And it's almost like, do I really have energy trapped away in my body, in my spirit, that just takes up room that could be keeping me at a different level, or a different energy source, or a more prosperity or more love or whatever, like just because I'm holding on. So I actually put a post on Facebook. I said, I want to hear your stories. Tell me about some radical forgiveness stories that actually physically manifested a change in your life. So I'm doing a bit of research on this. We have to do an episode where there's a panel called Radical Forgiveness, and loved, because I've heard people like, they forgive, they lose 20 pounds. I want to hear that story. They forgive, and all of a sudden it's like, I cry now again. I hadn't cried in 20 years. Like, I just love that conversation. So
and I would add this, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I would add this. I would add pain, right? So all this like negative
physical pain.
Physical pain. Yeah. Totally. I mean, there's proven stuff that, the late Dr. John Sarno wrote a book called Relieving Back Pain. And
yes, that's right. That's right.
Incredible
We talked
book
about this in Colorado.
Yeah. And
No,
it's
where was that? San Diego. I don't know, wherever it was. Doesn't matter.
Someplace. Right. And so it's, you know, I would wake up and my sciatic would hurt and I'd go to the chiropractor and they'd take x-rays like, oh, you got this slip disc and you need to do this when you do this. And I literally heard about Dr. Sarno listening to an episode of Howard Stern. I don't know if you guys get Howard Stern up in Canada. And he had the same thing. And they actually did a documentary on him. Larry David was cured. And
what
I
was
read
the
this
documentary?
book.
My wife is exactly with exactly what you're talking about. And we what's the documentary again?
I think it's on Vimeo.
You sent it to me, and I think you sent it to me.
You just ignored me?
Yeah, I did. But like, if we're gonna be honest, you know, I saw it. I just didn't even read it. Anything you send me, I just think, oh, whatever.
Right. Oh, good. That's good to know.
For the podcast,
so just Google
for me. But
just Google. Right. Just Google Dr. Sarno documentary. Yeah, and I think I bought it on Vimeo or something like that. Okay. It wasn't like on a normal channel, but it was more of a story of a guy trying to get help. But I've read all of Sarno's stuff.
Yeah.
He's just brilliant, and it talks about all this. It could be something from our childhood. It could be something that we don't even know about, but it blocks the energy in our body.
Yeah.
And the body wants to keep you busy, and it wants to keep you distracted. And so if it can distract you from pain, you know, with pain,
totally makes sense.
Then it's doing its job. And again, this is all the research I've been doing.
Survival. It's just all based in survival, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy how our minds. And I'm on this journey, man. I've been also listening to this guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he wrote a book, something supernatural. But he's like the latest thing on. He's on a whole bunch of podcasts recently, and he was severely injured in a bike accident, and he was told by 4 different orthopedics and back surgeons, and we need to reconstruct everything. And he literally said, "My body was created from a cell, right, from the universe, whatever you want to call it, God." And he's like, "I think my subconscious can fix me." And he spent 3 hours a day reconstructing in his mind his back and everything going on. Within, I think, 4 months, and don't quote me, it's 4 months, 6 months, whatever, he's back on a bike, and now he's a PhD in neuroscience.
Crazy.
And it's like, man, it's like the power of, you know, like, why does some person get, you know, healed from something and another person doesn't? And I think you hit on it. It's these blocks that we have, these energy blocks in our body. That's the energy isn't flowing. And again, I think we're getting into maybe we need to we need to get sandals, you know, wear sandals and eat some wheatgrass and talk about this stuff. But and again, I was farthest from this, man. But I think this, you know, as a business owner, if you can forgive yourself, forgive others. I mean, to forgive yourself, right? We're hardest on ourselves. Right? You know, it's like all the negative talk we have, and then we think did us wrong. And how many times have you been pissed off at somebody for something we thought they said or did, and they didn't do it, or we were misspoken, or we heard the wrong information because someone just wanted to use that to piss you off because they didn't like that person.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it occupies so much energy.
But then we get used to this normal. This is a fascinating idea, is what's your normal. That doesn't mean it's good. Like, we just have this, like, it's like someone that's drinking energy drinks all day, and that's their normal. They don't know how good it can be. That's the one thing I feel like I'm on this planet for, is to help people through that. It's like just to realize that they have so much more than they could be having. You know, like, we just get this normal. We live with pain. That's my normal. Like, dude, when I was back in the day from the streets, got married, I smashed my hand into the wall when I was mad. I had holes in the wall. Like it's embarrassing, but I was so angry. Like, I just get angry to smash something. And like, I could imagine my wife as well. Same thing. Like, fuck, I can't, like, you're such a great guy, but then when you do these things, like, fuck, I can't, like, after a while, like, Rene and I almost did divorce because of it, and other things. But the thing is, I remember one day going, "Hey, I'm doing pretty good." And my wife's like, "You're not doing that good." But my normal was smashing my hand into the wall. And now I'm just being a dick. And it's like, no, I'm doing great. Compared to my past, I'm great. Well, yeah, you were a drug addict, criminal on the streets doing very bad things. Yeah, no, and I'm not bad now. Like, it just feels like we find a normal. So our own perspective is that what's possible, like what is really possible. And I think that's where those energy blocks and that forgiveness and to be actively working on ourselves, it just has to be part of our business plan. Like, it's like we're running a business plan. Where does personal growth, where does getting rid of the stuff that holds you back come into that? That, like, I just envision a time where someone's teaching business And they're going, well, where's the personal growth aspect of it? Where's that? We got to hack you as a human being, the man behind the strategy. You're the one that's going to be running everything. You're the problem. Like I can teach business, but who's working on you? That's like obsessed by that.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I think if everyone just took 15, 20 minutes a day and turned off all the distractions, right? Just turned them off and just sat with yourself. And again, you know, I went on McKernan's trip to Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a life
and
changer.
we spent a lot of time alone. Probably the biggest game changer for me in that whole thing was the amount of time I spent by myself for that 8 days.
Yeah.
Like he'd be like, we'd meet for like 30 minutes and then he'd like, all right, go back to your cabin and look at your 10-year-old self and do this and just be by yourself. And I'm like, I did not like being by myself.
Wow.
Like when I get into a car, it's like quickly turn on the music or do something or a podcast, or I get to the office, I got to turn on a YouTube video. I got to, right. We're constantly, we don't have time just to sit there. And so spending 6, 8, 10 hours by myself was really difficult. And I'm a decent swimmer and I thought about swimming back from Ireland, to the States. I knew I wouldn't make it out of the bay, but just being by yourself, I think is really important. And you said it, you basically said it a number of different times today. And scheduling time for yourself, right? Schedule thinking time that you just, you tell your office, right? I mean, behind this door, I've got, a whole bunch of people who guarantee I'm going to have a whole bunch of stuff. And again, that's my fault because I created that. Yeah. But just scheduling time to think. And in business school, they don't teach any of that kind of stuff.
That's what I mean. I think it's got to shift. The results are in that. What we're talking about, results are in that.
Yeah.
We can build an amazing business, but if it's going to work and last, it's got to be that person behind the whole scene has to be looked at. That's why some of the best investors in the world, they don't look at the business. What do they look at? They look at the person running the business and they invest into that person. They could be selling dog treats out of a freaking backseat of a car and that's their business. They're like, you're the guy. Because that's the person behind it. Like if you want to raise your net worth, your success, your marriage, your relationships, your fathering, everything comes back to the real shit that's holding us, like the stuff that holds us back. It's us. That's cool that you know this, Phil. Like so many guys, I think it needs to be the conversation. Like I'm going to do a lot of different speaking events here. I coach a lot of real estate agents and things. And the more I do this, the more I think, what a waste of time teaching them how to do strategies. Like, I'm not joking. The guys that I work with on a long-term, it's like the breakthrough comes from us working on the personal stuff. And then their business completely flows. And it's like, oh, maybe I should just teach that. And I honestly consider that. And it's like, why would I teach strategies? Like, it just almost feels like as soon as I unlock the person, they know what to do.
Yeah, but you know what, though? That's a much harder sell than teaching an agent how to get more listings.
Totally.
Right? Phil. Yeah. It's a much
thing.
Yeah.
And that's the part, that is the thing, right? Because it's like, hey guys, you want to be double your income? You come see me. I'm like, yeah. So how's the relationship with yourself? Like, what the fuck,
Right.
Yeah, that's so true, man. It's such a, so I guess we should kind of start wrapping her up here.
Yeah.
Just being, we're about over an hour or so, I think. But a couple things. So I was going to say, hey, do you know Tim Larkin by chance?
Yeah.
He was on the podcast. Good dude.
Nice.
Eh?
Yeah, you
got to get him to speak, man.
Yeah.
Like, so super interesting. Would totally tie into the military feel.
Well, he's a Navy SEAL.
There you go. Well, I think he was. He was in that world. This whole world's there. Like, why he should absolutely be speaking there.
And he's a local boy. He lives here in Vegas.
I know.
And so I've traded emails with him. We've kind of crossed in the past. We're in Strategic Coach together. He's a good dude, very successful guy. Not only obviously as a badass SEAL, but very, very successful guy. Is that podcast launched yet?
Yeah, it's live. Go take a look.
Oh, I got to take a look at that. Yeah, he's a beast. And it's.
But yeah, I was thinking I got to connect you guys. I don't know him that well. Like I know him through Steve Sims. And do you know Steve Sims?
Yeah.
So he connected me there. But Tim's he's also a really deep guy. Like in our podcast, we start talking about business and stuff. He's not just a self-defense genius. He's definitely a badass, but he's got some depth, man. He's a really good dude. So, I wanted to connect you guys. And then, I always ask a question. on this podcast, I always drill people with questions, and people open up quite a bit, and it's good, but I always want to be a student as well. So question for you is, I always say, if there's a question you can ask me, I'd love a question from you, Phil, and that I could answer. And if there isn't any, that's fine, but I always want to open up that way as well.
Well, I mean, I would like to ask you, you're still married to the same woman, right?
I am.
Yeah. So where would you, if I asked her separately, where would she say you're at right now? And what does she think was kind of the game changer from you going to, fuck, is he going to hit the wall? Is he going to hit me? Is he going to hit what's his mood going to be like today? What do you think she would say was the game changer for you?
That's a fantastic question. Such a good question, Phil. Because then it's honest, right? Like, I'll tell you, but then from my wife's perspective, the truth, I think she'd say I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life today. She would say that I'm probably too busy. She would probably say I am in the best place I've ever been in my life. But 2-3 years ago, it would be, which we were literally looking at, like we were divorcing, like it was done. I think the things that helped, like I'm really curious. I'm actually going to ask her this question just to see if it comes across the same way. Because that's one thing I've always learned. So how's your wife? Oh, she's great. We're doing great. And Rene would be like crying. We're not doing great. I'm like, what the fuck? What's your problem? Things are fucking awesome. Like, right. Just so disconnected from the reality. That was a huge problem. I think working with Phil McKernan was the biggest breakthrough that I've had. Challenged myself to find out who I am. My energy has gone from 200 miles an hour to about 120. So my normal is like, I'm calm. You meet me and like, wow, that guy's intense. But they don't know what I was. And I think the biggest time there was a time, I'll tell you the story that actually broke me. And it hit me so hard between the eyes is I was at a retreat with Philip, and he helped me really understand where I want to live. Like, just everything's about layering back, going, what do you want in your life? Is this the life you want? And I had this vision of this acreage, and I thought, man, I don't want to live in town. I want to live in acreage. By the way, I'd never shared this story. And so what happened was I came home, which makes Rene very nervous because I'm going to come home because I didn't listen to her, that was gibberish to me. You're not listening. You're not getting me. I'm like, I hear you loud and clear. I coach people, and you know what I do? I don't have any issues except here. Like, that's bullshit, I'd say. Like, it's you, Rene. Like, it's just like, ugh. I see that now. I couldn't see what I was doing was a big problem. Anyways, what happened was I kind of forced the decision. I saw this acreage, and I said, there's the vision. So this is the only thing about vision and visualizing. You see it. You will. It's like, oh, there's the beamer I've been thinking about. There it is. And so what happened was I didn't respect my wife in her voice. I didn't listen to her. She goes, I don't want to move. I made it happen, dude. Like, I made that shit happen. Just like I make my life. I used to just make shit happen at all costs. I get it done. What happened was one day we're living at the acreage. She never wanted to be there. I forcefully made it happen. But on one side, she did sign the paper. So it's not just me. So I understand that, because again, that carrying the guilt, you got to let it go that it wasn't just me. But the thing is, I remember one day she goes, Ben, I'm done. And I looked at her. I'm like, holy shit, she's serious. She goes, I can't do this anymore. And she goes, I've been following you around in your life, and it's just been so crazy. You've moved so many times. I've been with you this whole time, and we're still here. And then we come to the acreage, and what happened when we moved there, it was freaking sewer backed up twice. Oh. Like, shit like that was happening. I'm like, oh, like it was just one of those things. It was just nonstop. And I remember sitting down, she's sitting on the little bench, and it was like the clouds cleared, and I went, holy shit. And I finally saw it for the very first time, what I was doing, that I was dragging my family around on my mission, running around thinking I'm doing amazing things. And I just started crying my eyes out. I bawled and bawled. And I said, I believe you, it's over. And I think I said, I see it. I fucked up. I said, I fucked this up. And I realized that. And I don't think she's ever heard me say anything like that. And I was just crushed. I went, holy fuck. I was running around trying to do my mission, and they would just follow me around everywhere. And I didn't know what they were feeling. I wasn't connected to them. And I thought I was. And what was crazy is the story I told myself was, I'm doing it for you guys. Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you know what I'm doing for you guys? It wasn't. It was, but it wasn't. Now today, Phil, I can tell you this. is that I realized, so what I did was I pulled out of a lot of things in my life because I realized without my wife and kids, what's my life? And I want to have a wife and kids. I remember graduating from 365 days of rehab on this ranch that I lived at to get at 17 to 18 years old before I was going to kill myself and do some crazy different acts going out. And I came there, I graduated, and all I just said was, I just wish I could have a wife to love and a wife to love me and have some kids. And that was my 1994 goals in a way, right? And it was like, but if I have that, I've kind of arrived. So I almost feel like there's this contentment I started growing, going, if my relationship with my wife and kids are really good, man, everything's bonus. And so I started letting go of my mission. Now this sounds crazy, to work on my stuff at home. You'll see some missing years. Like for 2 years, I would let go of whatever it takes just to work on my relationship and listen to my wife and hear her. I wasn't like whipped or like trying to make her happy. It was just truly rebuilding this relationship. So we hired a coach from Kelsey Grant. So we run a mini little podcast together, and you'll see some episodes on my website with her, me and her doing Love and the Raw Truth, and we coach people live. And the thing is, she was huge for my wife's development. Because I don't think it could have just been me. Rene needed to find her voice. She needed to find her boundaries. She needed to find, she needed to say, we're not moving. And then I had to stop doing what I did. So my breakthrough moment, I think there's a shift in our relationship was that day. And that took 2 years of hell, of hard work and commitment. But today, man, I hear her. Like I really hear what she needs, and probably need to work on it some more. I've never arrived, but so I don't know. That's a very long answer to what's the big shift. The big shift is I found value in myself. I don't get as distracted as much anymore. When there's times where she's like, I don't think this is right. I'm like, Rene, you don't know the whole story. I stop for a second. I just sit there. Maybe I should just hear this out. Like the other day, and then bringing her into the business stuff, and she's just getting involved a little bit, but it's not controlling. It's just relationship, something new. And we really we're driving really well together, like really well. So I don't know.
That's great. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just always curious, and I would love for someone to ask my wife what it is, and it's still a work in progress, and I catch myself getting short, like you just said, you admit to getting, and it's like, and then it's just like, and then I beat the shit out of myself, right? Oh, you fucked up. It's like, why? Can you just be a little bit more patient? I mean, this is like recent. This isn't like, and so you're just like,
that's the one thing, Phil, that I know that like you got to stop that. That's one thing, dude. I'm the master at that too. Like you could look me in the eyes and you know that we have some similarities. Yeah. And but that's the one thing I'm not doing anymore. Fuck that. Like no fucking way. I'm so sorry when I screw up, and I might beat myself up for about 9 seconds, but I'm not fucking doing that no more. Right. There's no way. No way. It is one of the worst things that you can do, because it is so selfish. It is so selfish, because now my kids can't connect with me. My wife can't connect with me. I'm sitting there having a pity party going, fuck, I gotta fucking do this. And it's just my dad's voice in my head or whatever the fuck that is. I'm just sitting there going, you know what? I fucked up. I'm moving on. Yeah. And I'm forgiving myself. I have to. And that's why it's got to stop, because then you'll lose connection. It makes it worse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm not trying to beat you up, Phil. Just so you know.
No. And it used to put me in days of a mood.
Yeah, man. I go quiet.
Right, days. And now it's like I'll beat myself up and go, remember this. It's like that scary feeling, right, of whatever it is. Doesn't have to be scary, but it's that feeling. And then go, okay, just kind of clean it through. And it's, again, here's a very quick last woo-woo thing. Yeah. For thousands of years, they had these serpents, right? A lot of or tribes use serpents because they would shed their skin, right? Yeah, shed their skin of the past. Yeah. And so now every morning I look to the different east, north, west, south, and each one has a little meaning to me. And the very first one is, okay, I think it's to the north, and it's like, okay, shed my skin, of the past, just like the serpents do, and just forgive myself and let that, go away to the west line, right? So again, this is just, I would have just laughed my ass off if I totally, man. Me say this.
But it makes anyone listening to my stuff, trust me, is okay with it. I'm not I'm a tough guy from the past, man. Tough guy, and I found some awakening through this kind of stuff for real. Yeah. The one thing I don't want to be is hard. Like for so long, I can guarantee you know what I'm talking about. Just
for sure.
I just want to be, my dream is to be gentle. Like I'm from the outside, I'm tough and stuff still, but I'm really not. Like I'll cry with my kids. I let them see me cry at a movie and they're like, why are you crying? I'm like, yeah, I am. I mean, one thing though, is that when it comes to this is the one thing that's really helped me, Phil, is I kind of it's almost like, say I go into a motion where I'm beating myself up or I'm in a zone. I feel like I let that, I embrace it now instead of fight it. I embrace it and let it sit with me. I don't try to get rid of it. I try to, because I'm like, I used to be like, I hate that part of me. Get out of here. I hate that part of me. Like, fuck, I hate, that's old Ben. Now I'm going, no, that's still Ben. And that's okay. And I feel like there's a point to sit with, almost like observe me beating myself up versus beat myself up. Does that make, that's woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying though, like there's that place where people, because this is a massive issue. This is not our issue. It's everyone's. The little old lady wearing a nun mask would be, like a nun would have this issue. They're not good enough, or I'm not, or like, and then we just beat ourselves up. But I think the beating ourselves up, if we can just let that flow through us, it'll leave quick.
Yeah.
The moment we fight it, it gets stronger.
I
don't know how it works, but I know for sure that's true for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And one other thought that I have that might help all the dads out there. Again, I was hard on my kids, man, when it came to sports, competitiveness, grades, even though I was a horrible student, right? I mean, 1.8 GPA my senior year.
Well, you don't want them to be what you did, right? You want them better than you. And that's fair though. That's fair.
Yes and no, but here's something that I just heard last week, and again, it was at a random church I went to in LA. I was just moving my daughter just 2 days ago, and the guy said something that really stuck out at me. It's like, I think my kids at some point felt like they were orphans, trying to gain acceptance for things that they did and get my approval so they could stay as an orphan. Does that make sense?
Say it again, because there's something to it.
So, orphans go from house to house to house sometimes, right? And, they're foster kids. And they're just trying to gain approval from the parents so they don't have to go to another house, or they don't have to. And so sometimes I feel like, and I know I did this when I was growing up, right? I would say things that my dad wanted me to say, and my mom, and, oh, look what I did. I got good grades. Well, why didn't you get an A on that? You got a B on that. Well, I was a C student, so to me a B was a game changer, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so my kids were always running around trying to get little acceptance from me, like they were orphans, right? Or foster kids. Yeah. And so looking back, I see all these things, and it would be like, I'm watching the news, leave me alone, or I'm on the phone, or I got to send an email. And I look back and I'm like, what a dick. Yeah. What a dick. All my kids wanted was just a little bit of acceptance. So for any dads that are out there listening, all that shit that we think is important, like, oh, I got to be up on the news because what if someone asks me a question about what's the latest news and you don't know? No one cares, right? If it's super important, you'll hear about it anyways. But man, your kids just want that. Remember back when you were a kid, you just wanted that little bit of acceptance.
I just wanted to be loved, man.
That's it.
And we miss, like, I'm just learning. And Renee's like a freaking kid whisperer. So I'm lucky. And she'll be like, just how she does things. I'm sure, man, we probably could share some stories, but my kid, I got this little kid, she's just crying and my shoes, I hate my shoes. And I'm like, oh, whatever, the freaking shoes, just wear the shoes. Get over it, wear the shoes. Renee goes on her knees. Hi, sweetie. Where's it hurting? Pulls off the shoe, and it's freaking blistering. And I'm like, and you sit there and you're like, what an idiot. Oh, fuck. And I'm like, so it's just amazing to have an example. You can see that Renee's just like got this crazy connection. She just goes and talks to them. And it's weird because it's like foreign. Some back in the day, like, how do they like her? Like, how do they, like, just no clue how to connect? But man, you want to see my past? Fine, you got to figure it out. Because it's just like your story is, like, I didn't know how to do any of that. So I got to learn now, and you got to just do it. But one thing is, it's you think about your past, and there's one time, again, universal weird thing happened. I went to a garage sale and I saw this tape cassette set, and it was written by a monk. And I'm like, it just was like coming off the table. I'm like, I'm buying this. It's like a set of tapes. You know what? We're old enough to know what that is. If I got millennials, they're like tapes, like masking tape.
Cassette tapes. Right.
It's our version of 8-track. But anyways, it said this: first the ecstasy, then the laundry. And the title was like, what a wicked title. Like, you have those highs and you have these moments, and that we still got to do laundry. You still got to go clean your clothes. Then I'd listen to it. And there was one message in it that just hit me. And I don't know anything else other than the book. And it was this. He says, there will be a time where you will look back and you will need to mourn your past. You need to let that happen.
Interesting.
You go back and mourn it, and then you move on. And so, dude, I go back and I look at Ben from before. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad Phil doesn't know that guy. And it's like, but I'm actually becoming at peace with the old Ben, knowing it's still Ben, but it's not how I am anymore. But it's about taking them when you feel that feeling inside you, and you're like, maybe it's time to mourn the past.
Yeah.
It's weird, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I going back to me, love teaching and coaching. And so I used to teach a teen entrepreneurship class 10 years ago. And I'm like, I'm going to do this again. So we got 23 kids came to our academy, did this great 3-hour workshop on entrepreneurship, financial stuff, the stuff they don't teach you.
Yeah. Love it.
And the last question I asked, I handed out, little index cards, and I said, and I don't know where I heard this from. I don't know, it was from Jim Shields at board meetings or one of these things. But I said, if you had the courage to tell your parents one thing, or write down something that you wish you had the courage to tell your parents, write on an index card. I promise you, no one will see them but me. Yeah. I'll read them. I'll destroy them.
Cool.
Holy shit, man. Some of the stuff these kids wrote. So I won't, obviously it's just, I'll be very, yeah.
What was the theme?
So the theme was whatever the parents were pushing them to do, whether it was dance or sports or academics or whatever, the kids didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
They're like, I wish you knew that this sport wasn't as important to me as you thought it was. All I want to do is go to beauty school. All I've ever wanted to do is just be with my friends. And I mean, it was just like all 23 of them for the most part were like, had me in tears, like gut wrenching. So again, for all the parents that are out there listening, and I had one of the parents who's like, you got to show me. Because two of the ladies that work with me, their kids attended. They're like, show me. I'm like, I'm not showing you guys. No, I'm like, what do you think your kid said? They're like, what do you? I'm like, what do you think your kid said? She's like, I know exactly what my kid said. My kid said this, and this. I'm like, nope.
And like, well, my kid's super. Are we really hearing them?
We're not.
But what does that mean? I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I had to have Rene show me an example because I literally didn't. Like, I was listening. I'm listening. No, you're not hearing me. And it is in those little things, like your wife said. It's those little moments. Like, there's so many of those little things. Like, you're not hearing me. Like, it's like, no, it's all good. Like, it's just like this whole, we don't hear. It's different. Listening and hearing, Yeah. It's an amazing story, Phil.
Yeah. And so anyways, my kids are all old now. They're 26, 24, 23. And it's funny seeing them where they're at today and what I think they wanted or what I wanted for them is totally different. And so I want to share with parents who have kids, middle school, high school, and say, listen to your kids, right? Yeah. And all the stuff that we thought was important is not important.
Yeah.
Again, making sure your kids are safe, making sure that they're not hanging out with the wrong people. But again, sometimes those are okay lessons.
So that's close to your heart, hey? Like that's that stuff that just, I know, hey? I feel like that's that inside voice that goes, maybe I should just do this. Yeah. Maybe I need to, and it does sound like you're getting fired right up about these topics because I'm with you, man. And I'm trying to make my life fit that too. Like I'm trying to move my whole life strategically to do things I want to do, which is talk about this shit. Like it's like business is not our conversation today. It's life. It's real stuff. I feel like there's this I don't want to be the guy that dies, never scratch that itch, You gotta, there's something about giving. When you've gone through the pain that you've gone through, you got to give it away. You got to give away that once you've overcome that and you've developed, you got to give it away. You've got the key, dude. I feel like I have something that if I can unlock a kid, and I got stories after stories of things have happened that just like, you can do that all my life, just work with kids and work with families. And like that's why business is exciting because it's just an arm of who you really are. That's why I do business, because I can get to know who you really are, which is right. Cool.
Yeah. So again, that's really where my passion lies. And I do it with the military. I do it with not because, I'll be 50 this year. I'll be 50 in December. Right. Cool, and so it's not a midlife crisis or anything. It's just one of those things where, man, if I could get some good out of me being a total prick and an asshole, right. Mm-hmm. And share that. And again, there are some times probably more than I want that I do kind of recur what I do, but anyways, I'm with you on that. And
But
the
Phil,
more
you're
people
leaving
we
a-
can
you're-
share this
yeah,
with.
and you're leaving a mark today. Your vulnerability is amazing. Like I can feel who you were. And even the fact that you put yourself out there like that and you're like, nope, this is what I was a dick. It's funny because I actually hear a man that used to judge that moment, and maybe there's a little hint left, but it's like a guy that's just really going, no, I was a dick. Like it's not
for sure.
No, but you know what I mean? Like some people are like, they use it. Like, oh, I was such an asshole. No, like I was a dick too, but I was a really great guy, and mixed with a dick. And I think you know what I mean? I think you actually know what I mean. So, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap it up. And I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on, Phil. It's been better than I expected. Such a good guest. I can't wait to share the crap out of this episode. I'll give it to you. You can share it too. And, but yeah, appreciate it, man. I'm going to stop recording now.
All right. Thanks, Ben.